Yeah, dear students, today I'm going to discuss the new blocks of the comparative government and politics. And this new block is formal legal approach, system approach, and a structural function approach. And today I'm going to in the brief, all the systems approach. And this is the first lectures of the block two. To the come to this first slide, how we think about the formal legal approach, system approach, and a structural functional approach. So in this systems approach, there is first important approach that is formal legal approach. And when we're talking about the formal legal approach, it's involve addressing legal matters with a structural systematic methodology, typically adhering to established rules, principles, and procedures. This approach is used in various contexts such as legal research, drafting legal documents, litigations, and legal advisings. Here is a breakdown of what it generally entails. That is understanding of the legal framework. First important things of the legal uh, formal legal approach, that is the understanding the legal framework. And this is the different category like the statutory law, a study and interpret a status or legislative act relevant to the matters. Second, that is the case law, examine judicial decisions and procedures set by the higher courts. Third is regulations and administrative codes. That is review rules issued by the government agency. This is called the regulations and the administrative code. And second important part of formal legal approach, that is legal research. When we're talking about the legal research, that is identify issue, determine the legal questions or issue at hands, gather informations, collect relevant statute, case law, and legal literatures. Third important part of legal research, that is apply legal doctrines and principle to the facts of the case. Third is drafting legal documents. And the drafting legal documents, we can classify the different types of the approaches. That is pleadings, prepare formal documents such as complaints, answers, and motions. And the contracts and agreements, drafts and review contracts to ensure clarity and compliances with the legal standards. Next is legal opinions, formulate written opinions on the legal matters based on research and analysis. Fourth important parts of the formal legal approach, that is called the litigations process. When you're talking about litigations process, that is filings, submit documents to appreciate court or administrative body. Discovery, engage in the process of exchanging evidence and informations between party. Next, that is trial preparations, prepare argument, witness testimony and evidence for the court proceedings. Fifth is advising clients. Counselings provide legal advice based on a thorough understanding of the law and the client situations. A strategy developments. Develop a strategy for a legal matters, including litigations or settlements opinions. These are the important parts of the formal legal approach. Next is compliances and risk management. When we're talking about the compliances and risk management, ensure compliances, verify that actions and practices adhere to legal requirements, and that is called the ensure compliances. Next is managing the risk. Managing is the risk, that identify potential legal risks and advise on how to mitigate them. Next is that is ethical considerations. When we're talking about the formal legal approach, and in the formal legal approach, ethical consideration is also one of the important step, that is called adhere to professional conduct. Follow ethical guidelines and standards set by the legal professional body. And that next is that is confidentiality. Maintain client confidentially and protect sensitive information. That means that there are so many personal informations that is related to the client, and that information not be shared with any other persons. This is called the a formal legal approach. Is essential for ensuring that legal matters are handled efficiently, accurately, and in accordance with the law. It is characterized by a meticulous and disciplined applications of legal principles aimed at achieving fair and just outcomes. So this is the important explanations of the formal legal approach. Now come to the second part, that is system approach. When we're talking about the system approach or system thinkings involves understandings and analyzing complex uh, entity as interconnected and interdependent component rather than in isolations. This methodology is widely used in various fields, including managements, engineerings, and problem solvings. It emphasizes the relationship and interactions between the parts of the systems and how these contribute to these systems' overall behavior and outcomes. Hence, a detailed breakdowns of the systems approach. This is very important parts of the system approach. First, that is definitions and principles. When we defining the system approach, that is holistic view. Focus on the whole system rather than just its individual components. That means when we talking about the focus on the whole system rather than just its individual components. Interconnectedness recognize that part of a systems are interconnected and affect one another's. Third, that is called the feedback loops. Consider the impact of feedback, both positives and negatives, within the systems, and that is called also dynamic behavior. Acknowledge that systems, the dynamics and their behaviors changes over the times. That means when we're talking about the system approach, we have different kind of the approaches like the holistic view, interconnectedness view, feedback loops, and dynamics behaviors. Next is called components of system approach. That means when we're talking about the system approach, systems boundary. First important that is system boundary define what is included and excluded in the system. That means we are the considering the matter and what is the outside matters. Inputs and outputs. Identify what enters and exits the systems. Process and interconnect interactions. Examining how components interact and process transform inputs into the outputs. Feedback mechanisms. Analyzing how outputs are used to adjust and control the systems. These are the three important components of the system approach. That is system boundary. When we're talking about the system boundary, that is which parts we include or which part is excluded. Inputs and output, identifying the internal system, process and interactions, examining how components interact, and process transform into the outputs. Feedback mechanism, analyzing how outputs are used to adjust and control the systems. Third is applications. Management in organizational settings. A systems approach can optimize process, improve decision makings, and enhance overall efficiency by understanding how various departments and functionals interacted. So these are the parts of the applications. Next in engineering. In engineering system, thinking is used to design, analysis, and manage complex systems such as networks, machinery, and software systems. That means when we're talking about all the things, these are very important parts of the formal legal approach. Next, that is called the problem solving. In the system approach, problem solving approach is one of the significant approach, and this approach helps in identifying root cause of issue by examining how different factors influence one another within the systems. Fourth part of the system approach, that is called the steps in a systems approach. That means we defining the systems. Certainly establish the scopes and boundary of the systems. Identify components, list of all relevant components and their roles within the systems, and the create diagrams or model to represent how components interact, analyze interactions, study how changes in the one part of the system affects others, access feedback, evaluate feedback loops and their impact on the system performance, implement changes, develop a strategy or interventions to optimize systems performance, based on the analysis. And fourth, that is called the monitors and adjuvants continuously monitor the systems and make adjustment as necessary. So these are the important steps in the system approach, that is defining the system. When defining the systems, that means clear scopes and their boundary of the system. Identify the components and list of all documents, components and their roles and within the systems, and the map relationship, create diagrams or model to represent how component interacts, analyzing interactions, study how changes in one parts of the system affect others, access feedbacks, evaluate feedbacks, loops and their impact on the systems, and develop a strategy or interventions to optimize systems performance based on analysis. Continuously monitor the systems and make adjustment as necessary. These are the important parts of the systems approach. Next, that is called the advantage. That is comprehensive understandings. When we talking about the system approach, that is comprehensive understandings. And the comprehensive understandings provides a thorough understandings of how different parts of a systems work together. That means कि not individual parts is working, but whole system is working together, and that result may be some kind of the very substantial results. Improved problem solving helps in identifying and addressing the root cause of the problems rather than symptoms. Here I am talking about these kind of the issues and improved problem solvings. Fourth, that is enhance efficiency. When we're talking about the system approach, that in the system approach there is chances of the enhancement of the in efficiency, and this efficiency can enhance through the optimized process and interactions within the system for better performance. That is adaptability, allow for adjustment based on changes and feedback within the systems. These are the important parts of the system approach. Now, what are the challenges of the system approach? That means when we're talking about the challenge, one of the important challenge that is complexity. System can be highly complex, making analysis and understanding challenging. That means ki these is very important parts of the challenging part. Overlooked details, a small changes or overlooked components can have significant impacts, and these significant impacts required through the analysis and may demand substantial resources. So these are the very important parts of the system approach. One of the important tools and techniques, that means in system approach there is different kind of the tools, and first important tools and technique, that is the system dynamics. And this kind of the system dynamics use model to understand and predicate the behaviors of complex systems over the times. That means we use and try to make some kind of the predictions of the behaviors of the complex system. Next, that is the flow charts and diagrams, visual tools to map out the process and interactions. And through the visual tools, these can be make different kind of the flow charts and diagrams. And through these techniques, there will be chances of the system approach to understand in the very lucid manners. Then next is that is simulations. Test how changes in the system affect outcomes. In the last, we can say that in summary, in a system approach provides a frameworks for analyzing complex entity in a holistic and integrated manners. By focusing on the interactions and relationship within the systems, it aims to improve understandings and decision makings and performance. That means that this is the very important part of the system approach, and these approach leads to a system approach, provide a framework for analyzing complex entity in a holistic and integrated manner. By focusing on the interactions and relationship within the system, is aim and improve understandings, decision making, and performance. That means I have discussed two important approach, that is formal legal approach and system approach. Now I am going to discuss about in the brief system functionals approach. When we're talking about the system functionals approach, is a theoretical framework primarily used in sociology and organizational study to understand how different parts of the society or organizations contribute to its overall stability and functions. This approach emphasizes the importance of social structures and their functions in maintaining equilibriums and promoting social orders. Here in and depth look at the structural functional approach. There are different kind of the structural functional approach, and that first approach that is called the core concept. In the core concept we have the structures, and when the referring the structures that refer to the various components institutions within a society or organizations such as family educations governments or economic systems. These structures are seen as established patterns of social relationship or roles. Next is called functions. The role or contributions of each structure or component in maintaining the stability and functionings of the entire systems. Functions can be manifest, intended, and obviously latent, universal, and hidden. And next, that is the equilibriums. When we talking about the equilibriums, that means idea that society or organizations strive to maintain balance and stability through the functional contributions of their structures. This is very important concepts of the structural functional approach. That is core concept, structural functionals and equilibriums. Next, in the structural functional approach, some key principles. There is some key principles like the interdependence. When we're talking about the interdependence, all parts or systems are interconnected, and changes or disturbance in one parts and can affect others. That is stability or and orders. Social systems or organizations seek stability and orders. A structure contribute to the stability by fulfilling a specific functions. Adaptations and system adapt to internal and external changes to maintain equilibriums. When one parts of the system change, other part adjust to restores balance. This is the key principles in the structural functional approach, and this structural functional approach is interdependence. And when we're talking about the interdependence, all parts of a systems are interconnected, and changes or disturbs in one parts and can be others. Stability and orders. Social systems are organized or seek stability and orders and structure contributions to this stability by fulfilling a specific functions. Adaptations, that means the system adapt to internals and external changes to maintain equilibriums. When one part of the system changes, other parts adjust to restores balance. This is very important principles of the structural functions approach. Next, that is the system approach is also applicable in the sociology. And when we're talking about the sociology, that is social institutions, examining how institutions like family, educations, religions contribute to social stability and cohesion. And next is role of norms and value, analyzing how societal norms and value guided behaviors and support social orders. This is very important things. And functions of deviance, consider how deviant behavior can be contribute to social changes and reinforce social norms. This is very important parts of the structural functional approach. Now come to the in the systems structural functional approach, that is applications in organizations. Organizational structures, analyzing the how different departments, roles, and hierarchy contribute to the organization's overall effectiveness and efficiency. Role clarity, ensure that each role or positions within the organizations has clear responsibility and contribute to organization's goal. Coordinations and integrations, look at how various parts of the organizations work together to achieve common objectives. That means ki this is very important parts of a structural functional approach, that is applications in the organizations. Organizational structures, analyzing how different departments, roles, hierarchy contribute to the organization's overall effectiveness and efficiency. Role clarity, ensure that each role or positions within the organizations has clear responsibility and contribute to organization's goal. Coordinations and integrations, look at the various parts of the organization work together to achieve the common objective. Next, that is a step in applying the approaches. Identify a structures, determine like the key components or institutions within the system being studied, analyze functions, examine the role and contribute of these structures in maintaining stability and orders. Study how different structures interact and influence each others. This is very important parts of the things. Orders how the system adjust to change or disturbs to maintain the equilibriums. And then last one, that is applying findings. Use the insights, gains and this stability, efficiency and effectiveness within the systems. What is the advantage and criticisms of this structural functionals approach? That means ki when we're talking about the structural functionals approach, there are some kind of the very important advantage, and this important advantage is like holistic view. In holistic view, provide a comprehensive understandings of how different part of a system work together to maintain a stability. Provide a comprehensive understandings of how different parts of a system work together to maintain stability. Focus on stability. Highlight the importance of stability and orders in maintaining social cohesion or organizational effectiveness or organizational effectiveness. Predicate powers offers insight into the how changes in one part of the system might affect the whole systems. This is very important parts of the predicate powers offers insight into the changes. Next, that is called the criticisms. Overemphasis on the stability. Critics argue that the approach may overlook conflicts, power dynamics, and social changes. This is very important criticisms that communicate overemphasis on stability, and that overemphasis criticize that approach may be overlook conflicts, war dynamics, and social changes. Next, that is a state perspectives may be characterized for being too focused on equilibriums and not accounting for the dynamics nature of social or organizational systems. This is a very also important criticism. Last one, that is neglect of agency. Many understandings individual agency and the role of human behaviors in shaping structures and functions. This is very important parts of the negativity or criticisms. Now come to the tools and techniques of the structural functionals approach. Tools and techniques. When we're talking about the tools and techniques, that is tools is flow charts, visual representations of how different structures interacts and functions within the systems. And this is very important parts of the flow charts. Next, that is called the functional analysis, systematic examinations of the roles and contributions of various components. This is called the functional analysis. Next is called that is case study, detailed examinations of a specific instance to understand how a structure and functions operate in practice. This is very important parts of the structural functionals approach. Now can we call it, in summary, the structural functionals approach provides a framework for the understandings of how different components of a system contribute to its overall stability and functionings, and why analyzing structures and their functions. This approach helps in comprehending how social institutions or organizational elements work together to maintain equilibriums and achieve common goals. So that means that these are the introductory uh, parts of the formal legal approach, system approach, and a structural functional approach. Now, in the next lecture, I will go to in the detail of the all the three structural method. This is the now the I am going to the close about these three important approaches in the very simple way. Thank you.